Welcome back to the middle of a game between Purplemurasaki and Froggy. This is the quarterfinals game of EP Houston. Purple is on Esper Maze Control, and they're on the play due to seeding. And meanwhile, Froggy's on Black-White Angel Pools. So they're both playing slow decks, but Purplemurasaki's deck's a bit more control-y than Froggy's deck. And also, Froggy's deck plays a bunch of removal, which won't be very useful right here. So I think game 1 at least, Purple's pretty favored, and they even draw a really good starting hand with 2 ready for anythings, and a bunch of lands, and I guess in press the week to answer any creature that Froggy might play on turn 2. And Froggy needs to mulligan, so yeah, that's not looking good for them. At least this hand's decent, and they have mainboard Long Forgotten, which is pretty good against Purple's deck. Froggy decides to bomb Inish 2 and a Subdue because Long Forgotten is their 2-drop of choice, and Subdue isn't going to be hitting anything in Purple's deck. Purple just... I guess they get to cycle the cast out on turn 1 if they want to. They probably don't, though. Okay, drawing Polyp Pools. So they have 2 Polyp Pools, which is not very good for mana fixing when you have nothing else in hand. And Unrelenting. So the good news for Froggy, at least, is that they'll be able to resolve the Long Forgotten because Purplemurasaki does not have any counter spells up right now. Unfortunately, Long Forgotten isn't very good against someone with an empty graveyard, but it will start grinding if Purple ever starts casting stuff. So the good news about Long Forgotten is that it's up 2. So Purple will only have 1 card in their yard, or I guess they're going to play it ready for anything, so they'll have 2 cards in their yard at the beginning of their upkeep, but they have different card types, so Froggy can just refuse to exile with Long Forgotten so that they can wait for Purple to get 2 cards of the same type into the yard so that Froggy can draw off the Long Forgotten. And Purple gets Crest, so that's pretty good, because that gets rid of Long Forgotten, but I don't think they really need to get rid of it right now. And they just get to keep up Unrelenting, which doesn't actually do much right now, so I think they'd rather just play ready for anything during their opponent's end step. Froggy's thinking about exiling. Yeah, because they're trying to play around Cane Dancer, because Cane Dancer can flash back ready for anything. If they exile it now, then they don't have to worry about Cane Dancer later. And also, Long Forgotten target, so if Purple ever gets a Cane Dancer, then later in game, the situation can happen where Froggy tries to exile 2 instants, and then Purple flashes in Cane Dancer on one of them, and basically prevents the card draw from Long Forgotten for a turn. Froggy does exile ready for anything, though. They are going to try to prevent that from happening. But that means they're not getting any value off Long Forgotten. And Profane, sorry, so that's pretty good. Unfortunately, it dies to Press the Weak, but at least forces Purple to play something. Alternatively, they can just hold up Justice or Overseer for end of turn, and that's what they're going to do. So they can play around counterspells this way, but right now Purple actually doesn't have that many counterspells in hand, or like just no counterspells in hand, but they have a bunch of removal, and instant speed removal at that, so flashing in creatures won't really play around anything. Yep, end of turn ready for anything. Froggy's going to respond by fetching with Wayfarer Shrine. Are you trying to play around anything? Because Purple does have Find Nothing, but only in the sideboard, so no point to do that. They're going to just Overseer now to play around counter spells. And now Purple resolves ready for anything and draws a Mirror Gate, which will be turning off the Polyp Pools. And unfortunately for Froggy, they don't actually have a way to get rid of the Mirror Gate, right? Yeah, they have no way to answer lands in the main deck. So Purple plays Mirror Gate. On the bright side, at least that kind of fixes Froggy's mana, because now the Polyp Pools are tapping for both colors. Froggy draws Valdez. Okay, they can Valdez now, and try to see what's in Purple's hand. And Purple can't counter this because they don't have any counter spells. But now they have to choose between high or low. They name high, and Purple gets to pitch the cast out, which they probably weren't planning on casting anyways, since they already have a Pithboat to deal with the Long Forgotten. And Froggy sees Purple's hand and is probably not very happy to see what's in there, because everything that Froggy does will just get answered, and the Pithboat's kind of useless. I wonder if Purple is going to not play any removal this turn, and just play Unrelenting on their turn, shooting for a 4-drop. Because, like, I think they're probably fine with taking 3 to the face off the Justiceer, and then Profane Emissaries doesn't have haste, so it's just hanging around for a turn. And also the Profane Emissaries are turned off because Mirror Gate, Polyp Pools. Yeah, all around not a good situation for Froggy. Purple just has so many options right now. Yeah, they take, and they pass, and Purple is going to crack the clue in the turn, and they draw Cosmic Sinkhole. And yeah, cleverly playing around Long Forgotten, because if they end-step any instant, then Froggy gets Long Forgotten 2 instants of Purple's yard, and then draw a card off that. So is Froggy going to exile now, or are they just going to wait in order to actually get value from Long Forgotten? I mean, Froggy exiled the first ready for anything with Long Forgotten, so maybe they'll do it again to the second ready for anything. At the same time, leaving it in the yard means that now Purple needs to think a bit more before casting any instants. Alright, they won't exile. They're going to crack the second clue main phase, and they draw a Maze Collection off the top. That's really good for them, but they don't get any lands, so they will have to discard. And funny enough, their entire hand other than Maze Collection is instant, so they will be forced to discard an instant, which will enable Non-Forgotten to actually draw a card, unless they decide to piss belt main phase or something. I mean, it's not the worst idea in the world, because you don't have to discard anymore to hand size, and then get rid of the Non-Forgotten, so you don't have to worry about your card types in yard. And then you get whacked for 5 again. Well, no, they can't actually piss belt main phase because Fractured Reach only taps for colored mana on your opponent's turn, so it will Exunt instead to just take the pressure off of it. Froggy just sacks the Profane Emissary, so that's 2 damage off the board. Not very impressive, but I mean, it did kill something, so you can't complain too much. And Initiative off the top. That's a pretty good draw because now Froggy plays Initiative and Purple needs to deal with it, which is pretty easy because like Oppress the Weak just kills it straight up. But oh, Froggy's gonna try to Valdez and Purple reveals the Cosmic Sinkhole. Womp womp. Yeah, Purple's answer is just lining up perfectly with Froggy's threats. Okay, but on the bright side, at least Froggy gets to exile 2 instants with Long Forgotten, so they get to draw a card now. And they draw a Wayfarer Shrine, which is not very useful, but at least it's land. I think Froggy at this point is just really hoping to draw into their bigger threats, like Disciple Faradia, which would fetch Fallen Celestial. I mean, Purple can't really answer Fallen Celestial very well, because Oppress the Weak won't actually kill it. They would need to Oppress the Weak twice to kill it, which they actually can do, so yeah, it's still not out of the woods if Froggy top decks something like that, but at least it would force Purplemurasaki to lay out their answers. And if Purple ever oppresses before that, then okay, anyways, Initiative comes down. Purple has to let it resolve because they're having counter spells, so Froggy gets a Surveil one. Hopefully it helps him hopefully it finds some big threat. They managed to bend the Descend. Unfortunately, there's really no good targets, but I mean, if Purple ever plays the Cane Dancer, then Descend will be able to target that, and that'd be really good. A Pithwilt on the Long Forgotten, finally getting rid of it, so no more value grinding for Froggy, and then Inimiter Maze Collection. And Purple manages to rip Unrelenting off the top. So now they have 2 Unrelentings in hand, so they can start doing Unrelenting stuff. Unrelenting doesn't really do much right now, but they're going to build up pretty quickly. Froggy draws, and gets Disciple Faradia, which is exactly what they need. And Purple can't actually answer the Disciple. Or at least they can't counter it, so Froggy will get to fetch with Disciple. I think they probably just fetch Fallen Celestial, right? Because Purple has no way to answer that thing. Curiously enough, Purple is not going to kill Initiative before it attacks. Well, now is Purple going to at least kill a creature? Because if they don't, then they're taking 5 to the face, and like that's getting pretty close to a dangerously low life total. Okay, they get to Baron Desolation, so Initiative's flipping next turn if it doesn't die. And it's not going to die because the first Unrelenting is going to do the -1/-1 mode, which kills just our Overseer. The Purple still has to spend the Pithwilt on the Initiative or an Oppress the Weak, depending on what removal spell they prefer. Actually, it is going to be an Oppress the Weak because Purple's tapped out of Pithwilt right now. Okay, Disciple Faradia. So now Purple knows to save their Oppress the Weak for Disciple and the threat that it fetches. But that means they only get to do anything with their 2 mana. I guess they can crest whatever. They can crest Initiative, but that's not that good. They'd rather crest like one of the Subdue False Idols when it gets coalesced. Although I guess the Subdues aren't going to get coalesced anytime soon because Mirror Gate's named Polyp Pools, so Subdue isn't getting cost reduced. At the same time though, Purple can just draw Unraveling off the Maze Collection, and they're basically safe for a turn. You can Unraveling the Fallen Celestial, and they're going to end up trying to Oppress the Weak to Disciple Faradia, or no, they're going to kill the Initiative with Oppress the Weak. Then what's Pithwilt hitting then? Because they need some way to deal with Fallen Celestial plus Faradia. Oh, right, they can just Unraveling the Fallen Celestial and Oppress the Disciple, and then, yeah, the board's clear again. Purple taps and draws. Unraveling, yeah, exactly. Deal with the Fallen Celestial that's coming down next turn. Also, right, Disciple Faradia isn't buffed right now because the Polyp Pools aren't Polyp Pools. They fetch a Plains and gets Helena. Okay, that's also a really good draw, although not as good because, again, Polyp Pools are Mirror Gates and not Polyp Pools, so both of Helena's abilities aren't going to be automatic. Disciple is 1 cleric, and Helena will make another cleric, so, I mean, they're still 3 turns away from making Angel with Helena, though, so yeah, they're probably just going to run out Fallen Celestial and let it get countered. Well, no, they get to choose what gets countered, because if Froggy plays Helena, then Purple is kind of forced to also counter that, or are they? No, they're not, because, yeah, Helena doesn't do anything on this board, at least nothing too threatening, because the Polyp Pools aren't Polyp Pools. They're still going to counter it, though. Really? I mean, it dies to Pithwilt, right? Like, why would you counter this when you have Pithwilt and you know your opponent has a Fallen Celestial in hand? Purple is going to end up turn Oppress the Weak, go to Disciple. I guess they didn't want Froggy to uptick Helena and get a token. So purple takes Mind Rep off the Mace collection, so they have another counter spell up now. And Froggy tops deck Initiative again, and runs Initiative into the Mind Rip. The purple knows that Froggy has Fallen Celestial in hand, but they don't know that Froggy doesn't have a land, so yeah, they're kind of forced to let it resolve, because if they counter Initiative, then if Froggy's holding a land as their second card, then they just slam Fallen Celestial and purple has no recourse. So yeah, Initiative comes down, and I guess Froggy just gets a pass here. But then purple just gets a Pithwell to Initiative, so yeah, still not a great outcome for Froggy. They get to Surveil at least, so maybe they find something good again. You get to bin a land, and they pass. And out comes Pithwell on an Initiative. I think purple is probably looking to a Nip turn Unrelenting, or no, they don't have the right mana for it. They press the weak again, and they pass. So now Froggy, they need to draw another threat, so that they can keep forcing purple to counter stuff. Ooh, Epidemic. Alright, so the play here is to try to slam the Epidemic, because if it ever resolves, then purple is only able to cast 4 more spells. Actually, you have 2 really good cards. Okay, so we're going to lead with Epidemic, force purple to counter. Purple's thinking about it. I still feel like you should have led on Fallen Celestial, because, I mean, purple knows that Fallen Celestial's in hand. They don't know that Epidemic's in hand, so if you leave with Celestial, they have left information, and they might be baited into countering the Celestial, and then you get to slam the Epidemic next turn and hope your opponent has no counters. At the same time, if Froggy draws land, then they can play Celestial with 2 mana backup, so that plays around the Cosmic Synco for 2, if that's ever something you want to play around. Purple's thinking hard here, because they know that if they counter the Epidemic, then they won't have access to a counterspell next turn for Celestial. But no, they're thinking hard because they want to figure out how much they want to Mind Rip for. They're going to Mind Rip for X equals 0, so they're not going to try to steal any more cards out of Froggy's deck. Which is strange. I definitely would Mind Rip for a bit more. I mean, what are you doing with your last 2 mana, right? You don't have any 2 mana things to spend your remaining mana on, and like Froggy's tapped out. You could have just grabbed like a 2-drop. I mean, Initiative would have been good here, because Froggy's tapped out, you get to flip Initiative. Well, either ways, purple just passes. So now Froggy finally gets to slam Fallen Celestial, and for once, purple has no answer. But no, they're going to lead off with Helena instead. I mean, Helena upticks to make a token, but doesn't do much else. But yeah, maybe they're just really trying to play around counter spells, or I guess Cosmic Synco specifically. And then goes up to 4 counters, makes a 1/1, and Froggy just passes. The purple can't end up turn Unrelenting, kill the token, and tutor, but like, what else are you doing with that, right? Alright, yeah, purple's Unrelenting right now. We're gonna make a 2/2 and tutor. Well, the 2/2 blocks the 1/1 pretty well. Now they get to tutor up something that costs 4 or more. And they grab Dreams Come True. It gains some life, so gets purple out of danger range, and it can exile the Descent on the Helpless. Okay, purple draws Cursory Glance. Unfortunately, that doesn't counter Fallen Celestial. In fact, nothing in purple's hand right now deals with the Fallen Celestial. I think that card is going to get slammed next turn, and it's going to definitely present purple with some problems. Froggy just chumps the blue elemental. I mean, also, yeah, the Helena isn't being dealt with. Like, purple doesn't have any easy ways to kill the Helena. They can bounce it, but, like, Froggy just gets to drop Helena again. Like, Froggy tops deck a land, so they can play around Cosmic Synco for 2 if they really want to. Not that they really want to. They're going to uptake Helena again to make another 1/1. The Fallen Celestial is an angel, so that thing will turn on Helena's -1 and let it strip exile stuff. Purple has to let it resolve. So purple has 1 turn before the Fallen Celestial beats start coming. They're going to end up turning Dreams Come True. So purple unfortunately draws 2 lands. Or maybe they want to draw lands right now. Yeah, they do, because Mind of Queens. So purple exiles a bunch of cards. The only notable one is Descend, because that actually comes back from the graveyard. I guess they're also getting initiatives too, in case Froggy draws another Descend and wants to bring the initiatives back. Now purple gets on tap, and they even make a token from the Fallen Celestial. They can crest the Fallen Celestial so that it stops attacking purple during the next turn. So that's a lot of land draws in a row. I think for this turn, they just they hold up crest, so during combat they can crest the Fallen Celestial, prevent some damage, and then in the turn they're Unrelenting. Probably tutor for something else. I mean, they get the Unrelenting for 3 modes, right? Yeah, because they have 2 more Unrelentings in yards. They'll probably just drain tutor and the token. Or actually, no, maybe they're gonna, yeah, they -1/-1, and then make the token and then tutor. They're gonna swing out with their blue elemental. Okay, yeah, that's actually pretty clever, because it means that if Fallen Celestial blocks, then it dies to press the weak, and purple doesn't have to desperately try to rest it. So Froggy probably realizes that a press the weak plus blocks would kill that, so yeah, they're not going to block with Fallen Celestial. They're just going to chump with the token. Purple plays Fractured Reach again, and they pass. Froggy untaps. Top second of the land. Unfortunate. You're gonna play untapped. Is there any utility lands that they can fetch? No, right? So why would you play untapped? Is there something I'm missing? Well, the Uptick, Helena make another 1/1, and they swing with the Fellow Celestial. Purple is probably cresting right now. Yeah, but I guess Froggy just gets to slam the Fallen Celestial again, so not too big of a problem. And right, they played Barren Desolation on tap so that they can play around the Cosmic Sinkhole for 3. And now they're going to fetch with Barren Desolation. And Purple end up turning Unrelenting's, going to drain and tutor and make it 2/2. They're not going to -1/-1 to kill the clear token. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. Purple pretty much has the game on lockdown. Sure, the Fallen Celestial is kind of annoying, but okay, they get Champion of Provinces. I guess that thing can bounce Maze Collection and keep going. Another land top deck. So usually this amount of flood would be really bad, but Purple has a lot of things to do with their mana, so they're not that sad about it. They're going to play Renewal Grove. Are they going to swing out? Yeah, they're going to swing out. And Froggy can't afford to block his Fallen Celestial because that makes it die to oppress the weak, and Froggy really doesn't want Fallen Celestial to die because Fallen Celestial is basically their lifeline to winning the game. And I mean, Helena can't just afford to take some damage because, again, it's not really minusing for anything. But yeah, Froggy just lets the force through. Purple passes again, holding up all their mana. Classic control deck style. Froggy tops like Subdue False Idols. Unfortunately, not that good right now because, again, Polyp Pools aren't Polyp Pools, they're Mirror Gates. The Subdue is basically 3 mana exile something, and then I guess 9 mana make a 7/9. I mean, how close is Froggy to coalescing Subdue? They have 8 lands, so yeah, they're 1 land away from coalescing the Subdue. So now Purple is going to oppress the weak on Fallen Celestial, and they actually get to draw a card off the Civilize because they have a creature, enchantment, and an artifact. And then they get to flash in Champion of Provinces and block the Fallen Celestial and trade with it. And that actually just deals with the Fallen Celestial, so now Froggy's scrambling and looking for another way to threaten Purple, but I think they're kind of out of options because it's a bit late to subdue. They're going to piss out the Maze Collection in response. Actually, that's actually pretty clever. The champion isn't going to be bouncing the Maze Collection, but it's still going to trade with Fallen Celestial, and really that's the part that matters the most. I mean, worst comes to worst, Purple just unrelenting again and tutors up another Dreams Comes True, and that gets them more fuel. So really, Purple can't lose here. At least they can't run out of resources here. Froggy passes. Now Purple's ready to begin the beatdown with their Champion of Provinces plus a bunch of tokens, some of which came from Fallen Celestial. The top deck a Mirror Gate again. I think now Purple can just play Mirror Gate on legitimate establishment to just prevent Froggy from ever top decking one of those lands and cracking it for a clue, because that is an out. But Purple's going to focus on killing the Helena first. Yeah. I mean, on the bright side, at least Subdue is doing something this game, because it's going to kill the champion. And yeah, Purple just passes. Froggy draws Valdez. Okay, that's not a bad card. They can lead on Valdez and try to hit something. And oh, they're going to concede right now. Yeah, they don't want to play out anymore. Alright, I can understand why they did that. Purple was pretty much going to win that game, even if Froggy can try to do stuff that looks like it does stuff, but in the end it won't do anything. So on Froggy's side, you definitely want to board in more Long Forgottens and Prying Inquiries. Maybe Celestial Principality is decent, because Purple does have some non-creature spells that have a lot of the same cost, but I think it's a wash because Purple just has a really good distribution of costs of spells. Explorer's Fate is interesting because it's something that just slowly takes someone down, but I'm not sure how good it is in this matchup. Meanwhile, Purple definitely wants to bring in more Pithfuls, more Exunts. I guess maybe they definitely want more Maze Collections too. They want to go even more control-y for the control matchup. Going to game 2, Froggy gets a hand that does not have a black source, but is otherwise really good. I don't think they can afford to keep this, but definitely hurts to mulligan a hand like this. Meanwhile, Purple gets a hand with 2 lands and some spells. So yeah, they're definitely keeping this, and they're probably going to first mate the Mabel, probably getting rid of one of their Exunts. Froggy mulligans, and okay, that's also really good. Oh, Gloomcliver Step is going to be tapped, so they don't get turn 1 Valdez. That's really annoying, but I think they're going to keep anyways, because yeah, they can't really ask for too much. They bomb the Helena, assumably because they can't guarantee that Purple Emissary is going to survive to fetch a land. Purple decides to Mabel to oppress the weak, which makes sense because Exunt basically does the same thing, but better. Froggy plays Gloomcliver Step, tap turn 1, so yeah, no turn 1 Valdez, which kind of sucks. Purple tops like King Dancer, so they can use it with Crest, which means that even if Froggy fights through Purple's 2 removal spells, they're still going to get bounced a bunch by Crest. I think this is a really bad hand to face as Froggy because your main game plan is to just play threat after threat. And purple having all the answers means that your game plan isn't going to line up very well. Froggy's going to rush out the turn 2 Long Forgotten. Interesting. Oh yeah, it makes sense, I guess, because they don't want to just play Profane Emissary into removal. And they top deck Polypools, so they can play Polypools and Coronary Warcaller for another Polypools. I mean, that's not a bad turn. Gets them up to 4 mana. Yeah, they're going to play Coronary Warcaller. Purple lets it resolve because they don't have a counter spell. I assume they're going to end up turn Maze Collection here because Coronary Warcaller isn't big enough a threat to have to exit right away. But until Purplemurasaki finds Mirror Gate, the Polypools will be active, so Emissary is looking pretty scary. Well, no, it just dies to exit, but yeah. And they get to play no, they don't get to play Valdez because Polypool only taps a white right now. So purple plays Maze Collection and gets Mind Rip on top, which is not exactly the card you want in this scenario. But I guess it's fine because it's a counter spell at worst. And I mean, you have no other counter spell, so you might as well take it. Well, Froggy top deck Fallen Celestial. Not the card you want here. So Froggy really wants to Valdez here to clear the way for their Profane Emissary, but they can't play Valdez and Profane Emissary in the same turn because Polypools isn't tapping for black. I guess you can do something like play Profane Emissary and then play Valdez, but then you're not clearing the way for anything. I guess you can be clearing the way for your Fallen Celestial, and I guess your Valdez next turn. And I mean, if purple uses 2 removal spells, then Long Forgotten's going to do stuff. Okay, purple's just going to flash in Mabel and trade with Warcaller. So now Froggy gets to play Profane Emissary plus Valdez in the same turn, and then Valdez again next turn if they don't draw the lands they need to cast Fallen Celestial. Yep, Profane Emissary comes down. I assume that's going to be a Valdez naming high because Froggy knows that Mind Rip's in purple's hand. Yeah, they name high, and that conveniently does take the Mind Rip. So purple's out of counter spells again, although they can just draw off Maze Collection and get an Unraveling. So purple still has a counter spell up, but at least you know what they have. Like, you know every card in their hand right now because they just drew from a face-up library. Froggy's not going to Long Forgotten that, right? Because Mind Rip isn't Cane Dancerable, so might as well just wait until purple has 2 things that, yeah, Froggy just keeps it in there. Purple draws the Unraveling, plays Nebula again. So now they have 4 mana, which means they can Cane Dancer ready for anything if Froggy doesn't play anything that purple thinks is worth countering. Purple just passes 4 mana up. And Froggy, do they draw land? No, they don't draw land. They draw their 6-drop. Well, I mean, this turn's pretty self-explanatory. They just cast Valdez into the counter spell so that they clear away for Fallen Celestial next turn. And Froggy's going to attack first, so purple needs to think about if they want to exit or not. Because if they do exit, then Long Forgotten will be able to draw a card. Unless purple's thinking about cresting the Long Forgotten. I mean, that's an alright decision. Froggy's going to pass without playing anything. That's weird. Don't they want to play Valdez? Like, there's no downsides to playing Valdez here, right? Because if it does eat up a counterspell, then you're happy, because it's a Celestial. Maybe they're holding a Pithbolt for something? Is there anything in Purple's deck that Froggy's willing to Pithbolt? But like, not playing Valdez there just gives Purple so much time, and now they get to ready for anything to dig into more stuff. And then when you try to actually do stuff, then Purple has even more answers. Anyways, Purple untaps, and the Long Forgotten will finally be able to draw a card. And they're going to Cane Dance it ready for anything in response to Long Forgotten trigger. And they draw a Cosmic Sinkhole. Froggy still gets to exile the 2 other instants and draws a card off that, and it's Disciple, which is also a really good card. So yeah, not playing Valdez there was a really bad play, because Froggy just wasted 4 mana. If they played Valdez there, it would have eaten up a counterspell or a removal spell, and opened up the way for more threats later down the line, but no, they didn't do that. So yeah, now Purple has a full grip, and Froggy still only surrender threats into answers. They're going to tap out for Fallen Celestial, which is also illegal because they don't have the right colors. Instead, they're going to have to slam Disciple Faradia, which is going to get Cosmic Sinkhole. And that's exactly what you don't want, because Disciple is the card that you really want to resolve, because it both prevents this threat and also gets another threat. Purple top deck is still a Pandemonium. And Purple draws a land, so 5 lands, handful of card draw and counter spells and answers, and a Maze Collection taking away. I don't see how Purple loses this game, or how Froggy wins this. Like, Froggy not casting anything that one turn really put them behind. Well, at least they get a super cheap Subdue. I think Froggy just starts off with Subdue here, because there's really no point not doing that. The Crest will answer the Subdue really well, but it will eat up a Crest at least, and it's pretty cheap, so might as well go for it. Subdue False Idols on the Cane Dancer. Purple probably just lets it through, because there's no point in countering Subdue's front face. And now they're going to try to subdue Bolas with no targets. I mean, Purple's more than happy to let it resolve and just crest it, because that's an insane amount of value. Like, you just answered your opponent's 7-9 with the bounce spell. Again, I don't know why Froggy isn't playing Valdez here, because Valdez would spend their mana way better and also dice to less stuff. Or not exactly dice to less stuff, it dies to press the weak, but like you lose less when it dies because it already got its value. And yeah, Exant, they're not going to crest it. I guess purple still wants to keep up a crest. Are they going to end of turn crest the Long Forgotten? I feel like that's the only reason that they would. Alright, they can also just crack the clue. Yeah, there's plenty of reasons why they would just want to keep up 2 mana there. Granted, they can just crest the Long Forgotten so they don't have to worry about drawing cards off of this thing because they finally have enough instants in the yard for Long Forgotten to start popping off. Yeah, they're going to crest the Long Forgotten. So now purple has 4 clues lying around. That's a really big stockpile of clues. And the fact that they keep drawing lands is actually good for them here because of all the clues that they have. Froggy is finally going to play the Valdez. And purple begins by cracking a clue and gets a Pithbolt. I guess that Pithbolt is going to hit the Long Forgotten now. Purple lets Valdez resolve. Actually, do they have a way to kill Valdez currently in hand? Oh, they find Mirrorgate. Okay, yeah, that turns out to Polyp Pools and basically shuts off half of Froggy's deck. Going to draw the Unrelenting. Now they draw the Unraveling. Now they play a Mirrorgate down, naming Polyp Pools probably. Well, I mean, on the bright side, at least Froggy has good mana now. He can finally cast their Fallen Celestial. Top deck Helena, yeah, not a good time to top deck the Helena when you have your 3 Polyp Pools Mirrogated. I think here Froggy just slams the Fallen Celestial because, yeah, I mean, you can finally cast it now, but it gets countered. Actually, thinking about it, playing Valdez earlier there would have also been good because it makes Polyp Pools tap for black, so it might have actually just enabled Froggy to try to slam Fallen Celestial way earlier. But yeah, Froggy also knowing that slamming Fallen Celestial there wasn't very smart because they had a Prying Inquiry in hand. Like, they could have just used Prying Inquiry to try to clear the way for something like for Long Forgotten or Helena, and then next turn they tried to slam Fallen Celestial. Well, I mean, Froggy still has an out. They can, like, try to exhaust Purple's arsenal of counterspells and then resolve a Epidemic once they draw their 6th land. And here's their 6th land, but it's tapped, and it's a Polyp Pools. So Froggy did get out 4 Polyp Pools this game. Too bad it's against a deck with Mirrorgate. Froggy tries to... They're going to start with Prying Inquiry, and purple counters. And then now they're going to try to play Long Forgotten. And I'm assuming that doesn't get countered, it just gets Pithbolted. No, they're going to get countered. Counter draw. Well, I mean, if purple doesn't draw into another counterspell, Froggy gets to slam Epidemic next turn. Dreams comes true. Yeah, that's not a counterspell. It might draw into one, but it's not a counterspell by itself. Purple plays Maze Collection, and okay, yeah, but Maze Collection gets them a counterspell. I mean, Dreams Come True lets you scry, so you're pretty much guaranteed to get a counterspell off Maze Collection. Or in this case, you just straight up draw an Unraveling from the Maze Collection. And the Press of the Week, so that kills Valdez too. Yeah, purple pretty much has the game down on lock. Okay, a Plains. Not very useful right now, so let's see if purple tries to kill the Valdez. They're gonna play on Press of the Week. Yeah, they're gonna kill the Valdez. I mean, they had enough mana to Unrelenting, plus a Press, right? So if they Unrelenting to make a token, then they could have drew a card from the Press. Not they really need to do that, but it was something that they could have done to get some extra value. And I guess flex on the opponent. Froggy plays Helena. Is that going to get countered? Yeah, it will. And Unraveling is going to scry and draw into the second Unraveling from Maze Collection. Oh, and they're also going to squeeze some lands with Unraveling, so now Froggy can't Epidemic next turn. Yeah, Froggy just dying a very slow and painful death that the purple's control deck has got going. Now purple plays Dreams Comes True. They're going to draw the Unrelenting from the Maze Collection. They're not even going to bother exiling anything because it doesn't even matter at this point. I mean, at least the 3 Unravelings will make death pretty quick because that's a lot of life loss and creatures coming through. Froggy top sets Profane Emissary. Pretty sad Profane Emissary because, again, the Polyp Pools aren't Polyp Pools, they're Mirrorgates. I don't know how many times I keep saying that phrase, but it's true. The Polyp Pools aren't Polyp Pools, they're Mirrorgates. And purple's actually thinking about Profane Emissary. I mean, oh, they're gonna mind rip Profane Emissaries for X equals 2. Yeah, just the ultimate flex. Okay, what's purple going to steal from Froggy's deck? They're gonna grab an Inch 2. Okay, yeah, an Inch 2 flips next turn. And Froggy is definitely feeling quite defeated right now. And Froggy finally concedes. Definitely a rough matchup. So purple's going to make it to the semifinals.